Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm analyzing this tweet. This is a thread from Chris Green. I don't know this person at all, but this was in my Twitter feed, and some of the responses to this were very interesting. So the original tweet was, "What's the boldest thing you've recommended as part of an SEO audit? Buy a new business, scrap a website, abandon a product? Who knows? I want to see how out of the box we can really be." So let's look at some of these ones. I'm going to highlight some of the ones that I think are very interesting here and why I think that. So one person here said that he recommended that the client spend that 500,000 pounds on the domain name. And did they do it? Yes, they did. They spent it, so that must have been a big client. They're going to spend $500,000 on a domain name, but apparently made a difference. So that's good. Good for you. All right. Andrew Shotland, I do know who this is. I actually subscribe to his email newsletter. Really good guy in local SEO. He said his biggest recommendation, craziest, biggest, most out of the box recommendation ever was to no index 6 billion URLs. Maybe not the boldest thing we've recommended, but certainly the biggest. So no indexing essentially means that if they're indexed, those pages are able to rank. By putting a no index tag on them, it means that you want Google to remove them from the set of pages that can show up in search results. So these pages would disappear from search results altogether. So obviously they have more than the website probably had more than 6 billion URLs. But that's an interesting recommendation. Again, for a large site, it sounds like. Okay, so this person, Simon Cox, said, "Not to hire me, but to spend their money on this other thing that would benefit their business far more than I could at this stage." I think that's a good recommendation, and I think for a lot of smaller, well, I don't know. I don't want to say smaller. I think there are a lot of businesses where this is the right recommendation. Sometimes you need to have the infrastructure in the company itself before you start doing the SEO. So good recommendation, interesting recommendation. Let's see. Well, here's an interesting one. This person said to go full-on mobile app and stop optimizing your website. Radical, but sometimes better. I could see cases where that would be the right choice. I mean, there's definitely some cases where an app is what you want to promote and not necessarily the desktop site. There are cases where the desktop site is a secondary choice to a native app, meaning an iPhone app or an Android app. So, yeah. Okay, Bill Swalski. I do know this guy. Very smart guy in SEO. Somebody that everybody who aspires to do SEO probably should follow. Okay. So he says, using invisible same as markup as described by Google engineers at Google I/O in 2013, a conference, for a company that had a business name that was the same as an emerging paramilitary organization and decided to change their name to make it clear to Google that they weren't related. That's probably a good idea. That sounds like a good recommendation, right? A lot of times we have an acronym. The acronym of your name, the abbreviation, might be exactly the same as some other thing. And or you have a name that's very similar to something else. Yeah, you would probably want to distinguish yourself. Yeah, that's a good idea. Did it work? The client was acquired 2 weeks after the audit was sent to them before we had an opportunity to have a call about it. It all worked out well in the end, so I don't know if they ended up taking that advice or not. I'm not sure. Okay, this person says his most bold recommendation was to quit and move the company. I don't know. I don't know if what the outcome of that was, but interesting. Okay. Okay, so this person, Luke Carthy, said his most bold recommendation was, your problem isn't SEO at all. It's either X or Y. Obviously, like a lot of this stuff is anonymized because people can't tell every single detail about their clients. But okay, so then spent the next 20 hours or so writing about what the actual issue is. It was ERP. It was painful. ERP. Hold up. Enterprise Resource Planning. Oh, okay. There you go. All right. Well, sometimes it's something else. Okay. Okay. Chris Green comments to that. Sometimes you have to go up the chain. The number of times that I've seen terrible e-commerce websites because they're pandering to a terrible back of the house system. It's like having a terrible shop because you wanted larger warehouse doors. Yes, sometimes you need to invest in the infrastructure of your website and how that website hooks into all the other aspects of your fulfillment and distribution. Okay. Okay, this person says, Remco Tenson said his boldest suggestion was to broaden your portfolio because your business model won't survive the changing search landscape. That's something bold. You know, sometimes you can see what's gonna happen, and sometimes that's a good idea. Okay. Okay. Dan Thornton says he has a whole bunch of examples of explaining that all the marketing in the world will not solve a flawed business model, and then seeing companies sadly cease trading months after because they carried on as normal. What was that one company where they were paying people to go see movies or something like that? I can't remember. And I can't remember, but it was definitely a thing where the faster you grow, the faster you're going to go out of business, and that is a flawed business model. Okay. All right. You know, Carl Handy. Maybe you should do pay-per-click. Sometimes, you know, that's the way to get to the top of the search results or to appear before the organic search results. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you actually don't have a prayer if you're going up against enterprise level clients. So, and you're not. Oh, here's a good one. Cassie Vignieri said, I'm guessing this is for a hotel or some kind of overnight accommodations. She said, instead of purchasing more SEO services, why don't you invest in an exterminator to get rid of the bed bugs? Because I think that's why sales are down for your hotel. I read it on every review channel that I checked. Yeah, that would do it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Mark Jackson here said that he had a client consolidate 200 plus domains and websites, one for each location, into one domain and website. There's a longer story here, but that's the gist. Yeah, I could see people doing that. Buying up a bunch of domain names and making a website for each location. Yes, his recommendation was a good recommendation. You're going to get more power, ranking power, out of having one website. Oh my goodness. Okay, this person said, Stephen Kenwright said, I told a client that it had been hit by penguin, that it would never recover and they should start again. A penguin. All right. Okay, for Penguin, for those who don't know, this was a series of algorithm changes that started in 2012 that specifically targeted link spam and manipulative link building practices. So, spammy links and manipulative link building, like private blog networks, things like that, article farms. Okay, and as of today, Penguin is automatically updates. There's no like updates that roll out. It just is kind of like an automatic ongoing thing. But yeah, he had a client that was hit by Penguin, and basically it was going to be penalized into dust. Just start over. Yeah, I could see that happening. That's what happens when you try and cheat to win. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, Marissa Ryan has had very similar advice. She said the boldest suggestion that she ever made was to scrap an entire site, rebrand, and start from scratch. They didn't have a ton of online competitors and had great case studies and team members. They probably would have had a shot, and the company did not agree, and they went under 2 years later. Oops. Chris Green said, oh, their brand was toast and they couldn't let go. And yeah, it's understandable, but sometimes that happens. Okay, I think that this is talking in code here a little bit. Maybe it is. I don't know if I'm seeing this correctly. But this person said, buy 10 new boats. And they follow up with saying, most of the leads were from pages ranking for boats they did not own, only making very little per lead. Maybe they were maybe they were renting boats, like certain types of boats, like yacht rental or something like that. Maybe that was it. I don't know. Okay, here's a really scary one. Ian Lurie. I'm pretty sure I've heard of this guy. Okay. Okay, this one would be terrifying. Okay, he said, I backed a client up and walked them through a complete top to bottom brand and messaging revamp. Mostly by accident. I break out in a flop sweat just thinking about it today. Whew, man. Oh, and I also made an enterprise client switch e-commerce platforms. If that had flopped, I'd probably be encased in concrete under a major sports stadium somewhere. Yeah, probably. That's pretty scary. Scary. Okay, so here's a very interesting suggestion. And like I said, most of these are probably for larger sites or, enterprise level sites. But he said his boldest suggestion was to use the URL removal tool to remove over 50,000 pages that had already been redirected from Google's index. So they had already been redirected. Okay, this was still driving them traffic, so the estimated impact was a loss of over 100,000 sessions per month, and it was a top retail brand. So the URLs had already been so I know what he's talking about here. So sometimes when we talk about crawling, especially if it's a large site like this, even on smaller sites, I've seen this, no doubt, but you can change URLs, web addresses on your site, or redirect them, or remove them and redirect them to another page. But you will still see them rank in Google because Google has not recrawled that page yet. And so the last information that they have is that that page still exists. And that's what this person is talking about. There's 50,000 pages like that. So they were still showing up in search results because they're still in the index. And remember, the index is the collection of all pages that can be ranked. So, yes, they have the desired effect. All the URLs are gone. Traffic, as expected, dipped. It was gone. but the revenue was looking slightly better so far. Oh, this is like currently, and the search engine results page looks much cleaner for a number of the terms that were showing these old URLs. And their customer service team now get next to no calls about this issue, and therefore we're saving on the cost per call. No doubt I'd back this up though, but so keep in mind there are business objectives that go beyond ranking, and this is a great example of that. There are business considerations that don't necessarily have to do with ranking higher. Okay. Here's a similar one. James Brockbank says recently he recommended a client remove 1.3 million pages. This should have never been put live. Thankfully, we had the client fully on board and seeing great wins already. Great. Right. And again, here's a common, this is a common problem. This person, Peter Nicolo, told the client, you don't have an SEO problem. You have a problem with doing business and expect SEO to magically fix the issues in your company. But in reality, if your site was going great in the next 6 months, then your issues would be 10 times as bad compared with the current situation. So unoptimized business processes, if they ramped it up, it would actually be bad. It would probably magnify all their problems by 10. Okay. Ooh, these are interesting ones. This person, Chris, said his advice is your product is something that no one wants, or not anything anyone wants. Okay. Hannah Thorpe said to a client, your product is only good for millionaires hiding child labor abuse or fighting sexual harassment claims. Maybe too niche or immoral for keyword research. Whew. Man, that's deep. Okay, this person, Colin Boyd. Okay, I did see this earlier. This is one that I wanted to get to. The client said, we want to be pure white hat. White hat meaning you play by what Google states are their rules. And you don't do anything shady or anything that could be considered cheating. And he said, you will lose millions. Well, that's what we want. And he said, oh, I can recommend some agencies. And they're like, we don't mean it like that. And he said, bye. Monthly revenue dropped by £3 million, and they had to buy a competitor for $64 million to regain market share. Oh my God. Terrible. Oh, let's see what somebody said. And this other SEO said, let me guess, the White Hat Company did a huge disavow. They put in a disavow file to get rid of all the bad, spammy, toxic links that these SEO tools sometimes flag. And guess what? Their revenue dipped. Now, this is something that it's hard for like people to understand. Well, there's two scenarios that this could be. And it's difficult for people to understand this sometimes, but there are certain types of things where you're trying to rank, like adult sites or pharma, Viagra. Supplements can be this way. Knockoff handbags. Gambling. Payday loans. Things like this, right? Those types of industries, almost everybody is cheating. Almost every single competitor is cheating and doing black hat stuff. So yeah, you can try and go white hat, but if everybody else is cheating, and that's kind of what Google expects to see in something like gambling or adult or, Viagra or whatever, then if you try and go that route, you're gonna lose. But this person said something very interesting here about the disavow file. A lot of people, they use these tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush, or they listen to advice from different people who, let's just say, maybe they're not super active in SEO, and they believe that using a disavow file is the way to go. You know, all the disavow file really does is tell Google that you were cheating. And here's all the cheating links that we used. Here's all the paid links. Here's all the black hat links that we used. That's all it does. So, probably not a good idea. Oftentimes, on a side note, sometimes people think that they're not ranking because they haven't disavowed the spammy links. Like it's like one cause. A lot of times people think that, if I do like one thing, like if I, change the URLs or change the code or add structured data or disavow like the toxic links, then I will instantly, rank above all my other bad competitors that don't deserve to be there. Oftentimes, it's a lot more complex than that. It's almost every single time more complex than one single issue. And the disavow file, it's not going to do it. Your toxic links are not what's bringing you down. I can tell you that. Anyway, cautionary tale there. Let's see. Okay, Sean Hecking said his biggest, boldest recommendation was to merge sites and brands. Took years to see the light, so keep pushing. And then when they did, I'm assuming that good things happened. So, wow. Okay. Okay. Okay, Christian Lip said if SEOs have the guts to suggest to the chief editor of a big company who is convinced that the big website delivers premium content, the SEO is suggesting that they should make a 90% panda diet and delete lots of articles and duplicate content, merging thin pages and creating new relevant stuff. Okay. So, for those who do not know, Google Panda was something that started in 2011. That was an update to the algorithm that rewarded high quality websites and diminished the presence of low quality websites. So, what this person is saying is he had to convince the editor of this big company that their content was really not as premium as they were convinced. And that takes a lot of guts and intestinal fortitude. But that's what he had to do. And, get rid of all the low quality, thin content, duplicate content, merge articles, create new stuff. Basically, that was what he was tasked with. Okay. Here's another person that said, "You're in a dying industry. Invent some new products or fade into irrelevance." And they weren't ready to hear that. Hey, sometimes that's, what's going on. Okay. Here's a common one. Rob Allen says, a bold suggestion was to rewrite all the content because it's nothing but corporate claptrap and buzzwords and does nothing to help potential customers. Yes, sometimes companies are very good at putting content on their site that is meaningful to internal teams, or maybe it's to please the CEO and the rest of the C-suite, but it does nothing for customers. This is true. Okay, here's an interesting one. Mike Kaplan said the site was fine from a technical sense. They hadn't done any public relations work or outreach, so we could see brand traffic steadily declining. Recommended very little SEO work, but quite a lot of PR. That's an interesting suggestion. I like that. Okay. SEO bullying. Okay. Ah, what is this? Okay, Google Bowling. All right, check it out. Okay. This person said his boldest suggestion was to kill the domain. A flood of SEO bullying turned it into an unsalvageable site. This is when a competitor buys a bunch or buys or builds a bunch of spammy, toxic links to do a negative SEO. So I'm guessing that this site back in the past. Now, Google treats that sort of thing very differently. If you heard us talk about the toxic links, Google really does treat this differently now, but about 5 years ago, it treated it in a different way, and Google um, could not discern the difference. So uh, there was a lot of negative SEO that occurred like this. So, yeah. Okay. Here's an interesting one. This person said a site migration from Magneto to Shopify into Magneto, and then they wanted to migrate back to Shopify Plus. So they migrated their e-commerce like twice already, and then they wanted to go back again to what they were on, to what they migrated it to the second time. And she said, stay on Magento, hire a dev team, and fix the 250,000 technical issues and build the customization they wanted to migrate back for. Um, Magento is that is like a CMS for a platform for enterprise level SEO. Or okay, Magento is basically a platform for enterprise level e-commerce, not for smaller sites. It's for like big sites. But basically, this is again a suggestion to do things as far as the infrastructure of the site. And sometimes we have to make these big suggestions. Okay. Okay. Wow. Check this. This person says a client less than 5 years ago was about to launch on a big ridden platform, bug ridden platform, I'm guessing, implementation that they'd sunk £100,000 on. We gave them some scenarios and they sacked the entire thing off. We did a video a few days ago about the sunk cost fallacy of it's once people have put money into something they really don't want to change. So he was able to convince them to uh, don't do this. Okay, and again, here's another one. This person said, de-index 90% of your website. They had about 400 pages, but 350 of them were tag pages, category pages, random canonical pages, rewritten public relations crap, and other cruft. In the end, we not only de-indexed all that crap, but we deleted a number of crufty pages, consolidated a bunch, and gave the whole website a leaner back end. Guess what? It was bloated there too. In the end, they did a lot better in the search engine results pages and are still doing very well. Ooh. Oh, here's like a bold suggestion. I see people do this. His suggestion was create a registered doing business as name to include a keyword and then update the Google My Business with real and totally not spammy sounding name. Clever. Okay, this would be a little outdated now, or actually, this is an interesting one. Stop your way of mobile optimization because they were redirecting all the mobile traffic to a tiny little web app without any content or subpages. Uh-oh, that's not good. Especially now that everything is the mobile version of your site is the primary way that pages are being indexed. This happened like a long while ago, but Google started doing mobile first indexing probably about a year ago, if not longer. Okay, and I love this one from Jacqueline Pika that says, she went above her typical SEO audit for one client and sat down with an expert in their industry, as in someone who would actually use their product and know what info needed to be on the site. They had recommendations I would have never been able to come up with, and they added an entire user experience section to my report and made recommendations to add certain information and change where and how it's presented. That's amazing. Sometimes that can happen in niche industries. Getting the actual expert, like a buyer of that product or someone who's going to make a buying decision about that, who's an expert in that field and has a lot of knowledge, that's a good idea. Okay, here's one that I really love. This is this says, not sure if it counts, but I once suggested that the client completely restructured, rewrite, and redesign 27 of 28 pages on the site, despite them ranking pretty well with most of them, ranks 10 to 50. Whew, that is bold. Guess what? Sometimes that's what you need to do to go from page 2, 3, 4, 5 to page 1. Yes, sometimes you need to do this. This is an excellent suggestion. I wish people would do this more often. Oh, and again, here's the thing where SEO can't fix company culture. Oh, yeah. I gave an audit to a business who wasn't a good fit for SEO. Hundreds of unique, lengthy, angry reviews about a panel beating company. Plus an ex-employee creating a Facebook support group for the horrid working conditions. Yikes. Yeah, SEO can't fix that. Nope. This is a bold suggestion, but sometimes this is what you need to do too, especially if it's a larger company. Invest in building multiple physical locations to increase market share across a region through local and organic search. If you've ever wondered how, okay, a lot of people are invested in getting into the map, the 3-pack map. That's like all they want. I mean, and it's hard to explain sometimes, but yes, the only way that you can do that to show up in the map in cities that you're not in is to build a physical location in those cities. So this is pretty bold, but yeah, this is what you need to do sometimes. Yep. Okay. And here's a situation that I've been in before too. This person was in a meeting where he had to tell them just start over again. The terrible website with frames, like iframes. Oh my goodness. And no indexable content, meaning Google could not crawl the pages and get any content. And I literally sent one page with those words and then a rundown of what they should build instead. And the meeting was 2 hours of, why can't we just change? Why can't we just? And he was like, just start again. It'll be cheaper. Yeah. If your site is, that far behind the times, you got to start over. You got to invest every so often. I can't remember which video we did this in, but we talked about this before, that most businesses redo their website between every 3 to 6 years. Most of the clients that I know, and most of the situations that I know, and most of the people that I know work with clients where this happens. And if you look at very large companies, they might change their website completely like every 2 to 4 years, not even just every 2 to 6 years. Yeah. Okay, and finally, to wrap this up, this last suggestion, this person said, SEO is a bad idea when you don't have a strong conversion foundation. Traffic to a bad product or a bad seller doesn't work. So if you're sending traffic to an inferior product, it's not going to help. And then, first, answer the phone correctly. So the infrastructure of the company itself, as far as you can get the traffic, the search traffic, but somebody's got to pick up the phone and respond. And if you're not doing that, then it's not going to work. And the SEO is going to be a waste of time. Okay, well, that's all I got. Okay. Anyway, like I said, I just wanted to share this with you. I thought this was an intriguing. Okay. Anyway, I thought this was an intriguing tweet. There was a lot of great responses here. When there's threads like this, I like to point them out because I think this can be very valuable for both business owners and people who are doing SEO. I think it's pretty valuable, so I got value out of it. My name is John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO, and I'm here every single day making videos on SEO. I want to say thanks to all the people who have subscribed recently. We're almost at 500 subscribers. It's pretty awesome, and we're almost at 100,000 views. So go ahead and check out the channel. I'll be here tomorrow. Until next time, peace.